you talk about adversity and how it doesn't diminish us.
Mhm.
And we hear a lot about adversity, especially with social media, especially with the internet, and everybody's overconnected and has something to say about grit and resilience and adversity. You have a particular angle on it from your personal story. So if you could share a little bit about how you connect adversity and then how it refines us.
Mhm.
So it doesn't diminish us, it doesn't make us smaller, it refines us. You know, you were an orphan, you were homeless, you lived in a forest, you used to, you know, forage and hunt for your food with your bare hands. So take us back to that moment where that struggle wasn't just an obstacle, but it was the raw material that's created the future that you've lived into.
Yes, I think that, when we live in the world of constant adversity, we will never get rid of it. And ever since I can remember, I saw a lot of suffering and a lot of things that happened to me and other kids that I grew up with in this orphanage. But I really believe that everybody has a choice on how they look at the world. So when you choose to look at the world that is less than, then you attract more of that. And you kind of spiral down to that. Or if you look at it as a possibility, even though you are in dire circumstances, things begin to change for you. One of the really amazing things that I've come across recently is that science says that fear and joy cannot coexist at the same time in the body because they
Mm.
occupy different parts of the brain. So
They cannot exist.
they cannot exist at the same time in the body. They occupy different parts of the brain. So the question is, which wolf are you going to feed, the good or the bad? And that's
Yeah.
what you get more of. And my experience has been that of adversity and at the deepest levels. I grew up in this cave that I dug and I would futurecast myself into success. I would imagine that I was a super successful woman with long hair, even though I have short hair, behind a mahogany desk with a dress with heels. Even though I hadn't lived outside the barbed wire fence, we would go up to 2 weeks without food. I had to become a hunter. And so I always looked at the world of possibility as in a way of like hoping for something better and just held that in mind, even if it was 18 long years. And I believe that when you do that, the opportunities, the possibilities, the creative way of that the mind sees things begins to open. And this
Mm.
is when opportunities show up, that's when you take action. But if
Yeah.
you're focused on the pessimism side of life, you'll never even prime your mind to be open to such possibilities to happen for you, to take action, and that becomes our growth. But it's really really interesting because if you live a life of being mindful and having this mindset of looking at the struggles as what the opposite of that is, what is the advantage, then for me it's been like a full circle moment because I went through this life coming to America, being homeless, starting a fresh salsa company with $800, and then having a massive sell, and then realizing that my salsa business was just a stepping stone to something bigger, which is what I do right now. When I talk about full circle moments, when I was future casting myself, I was also going into poetry, into speaking a little dirt stages, and I want to share a photo. Actually printed this for you. This is me speaking in little dirt stages in Mexico. Look what I'm doing today. I'm speaking, right? I'm
Wow,
sharing a
that you
message of
well, I just
inspiration.
got goosebumps. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So it's all about there's always the other side. There's always an advantage to that adversity. The problem is that we don't remember or we don't even know to use that reframe of mind. And it's a muscle that you have to train if you don't know how to use it. But for me, it just came naturally because I wanted to look for something better. I had the hope for something better because there was so much suffering.
You strike me as being so hyper aware and so hyper extremely in touch with your journey. And
Yes.
for our listeners, and I'm not speaking for them, I'm just imagining, and I can speak for myself.
Mhm.
This journey is beyond heroic. It's beyond like a Greek myth. And I imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, sometimes you must pinch yourself. It There are those, myself included, who had trauma, suffered, had dark times. And in those moments, it's not like, well, I know I'm suffering or there's trauma, but in the end, I'm really going to harvest something like really possible out of this. Sometimes it it is so overbearing and so
Mhm.
heavy,
Mhm.
um, that even though the concept of a possibility is there, it's hard to touch and it's hard to lean into. So the question is, what do you say to those that hear your story from
Yes.
orphan, homeless, foraging to selling for like an ungodly amount of money, your salsa company, we're going to talk about your
Mhm.
business in a little bit. What do you say to them?
No matter where you are, there's a reason why you are living and existing. I just wanna say that the tougher the journey is for you, the greater the story on the other end.
Mm,
Because I will tell you, and I'm getting chills just thinking about it,
mm.
when I started calling supermarkets to sell my fresh salsa, I did not sell fresh salsa first. I sold my story. And that's what they bought into before they bought into the products. And I would never change anything from my past. I embrace my past. You should do too. And the
Yeah,
harder it is, the better, because the stronger you come on the other end, if you see it that way, of course, right? But it's what makes you. It's what defines you. It's the person that you become. You become the person through adversity with a new purpose, with a new discovery, rediscovery, because I really have a profound understanding that purpose isn't something that you pull out of the thin air.
yeah,
It's more of something that you pull out of the mud. And through adversity, you can rediscover and discover the person that you become. And this person, you can shape it to be whatever you want it to be. For me, is impact and creating impact and helping people. You know, what is it for you?
yeah. Well, for our listeners, there's the poetry right there. There's the poet showing up, the mud and the shaping and sculpting. That's beautifully said.